Welcome to the Build Your Legacy podcast with Enso Homes, discussing all things building, custom homes, and building a legacy for you and your family. Welcome back to the Build Your Legacy podcast with Enso Homes. I'm Sam Piasente, the Business Development Manager. Today I have Selkrig, our Director, joining us.
Thanks for having me, Sam.
And we have Kieran Cope, our General Manager, on his first podcast. Welcome, Kieran.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we'll quickly get into a little bit of context of Kieran's background at Enso Homes before we jump into the podcast episode. So Kieran, when did you start with Enso Homes and what has your career journey looked like at the company?
So 7 years ago, so that'd be 2017, I believe. So I started as a carpenter. Funnily enough, Enso Homes was the first builder that I actually worked for as a qualified carpenter. So we were first my own builder, which was fantastic. Worked for Enso for about 12 months, and then Lee approached me and said, we're looking for another project manager. So I jumped on board as a supervisor, knowing nothing about supervising. And just for the record, it is nothing like everyone thinks it is. So, and then worked my way up through construction manager, and then took on general manager back probably two years ago this February. So been general manager for nearly 2 years.
Nice. So we'll jump back a step. So you were originally a carpenter for us. You're on the tools. It's a pretty big jump to then go to the builder's side, get in the office. It's a lot more business related and computers and paperwork rather than, getting on the tools sort of thing. Was that a big decision for you at the time to make that jump? Is it something that you knew you always wanted to do, or is it just Lee coming to you and saying, hey, you can join us and you go on board?
No. So from my perspective, it was really easy to make that decision because I got into carpentry because I wanted to be a builder. I didn't want to be a carpenter as such. Carpentry just gave me the best all-round experience in the building game to be a quality builder. So the end game was always to get my registration, which I got. I have no intention of using it because I get to do exactly what I wanted to do under the Enso Homes banner, but I achieved the milestone of getting to that builder's registration. So from my perspective, it was really easy because I knew where I wanted to get to. The tools was just a milestone to get the groundwork, the understanding to then jump into the management side of construction.
Yeah, and just touching really quickly on you not wanting to be an actual builder, I know that was originally perhaps a dream of yours. I think through both of our positions at Enso Homes, we've been fortunate with Lee doing the heavy lifting on his shoulders to give us the exposure to all the challenges of running a building company. I think we've been fortunate to see how hard that is without having, without the buck stopping at us necessarily, even though we take care of our own areas. But yeah, we obviously really appreciate Lee taking us both on board and giving us exposure to the business side of things. But Lee, obviously we had Kieran as a carpenter for a while and he was a good carpenter. I'm not just saying that because he's on the podcast, but it's a pretty big decision to then take an asset out of one area of business, carpentry, which is one of the most important aspects to get right, to then say, hey, I actually want you to jump on board on the management side of things. How'd you come about deciding that was the right decision to make?
Oh, it's pretty... firstly, just after good people that are organised, people that are passionate. Some people just go through the motions, which is fair enough. And then, you could see something different with Kieran, and you could sort of sense, even though I didn't know he wanted to be a builder, but you could sense that he was chasing something. I like to be around people that, want to get a little bit more out of the day than maybe some others. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Kieran's always come across as self-driven and a high performer and wanting to be better and do better. So that was obviously, something that we wanted in a teammate.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty rare to come by, especially in construction, because it's one thing to have the physical skills or practical skills, and then another thing to have the administration side of construction. It's a whole different world. Then you throw in HR, which makes it even more fun.
Yeah, exactly. We could probably talk about Kieran's building journey in a lot of detail, but we might leave that for a different podcast next year. So the focus of the podcast today is to talk about our rebranding exercise. So if anyone has happened to watch a previous episode of the podcast, you'll notice that we're wearing different uniforms in this episode, which is part of our overall rebranding exercise. It was a really significant investment by the company. Lee, from your perspective, why did you go about, well, if you don't mind telling us, what was the investment? Because it was relatively large. And why did you decide to invest that much into the rebrand?
I think we did. It was a bit of a risk when we did it. It was, in the back end or right smack bang in the middle of COVID, sort of upsetting the industry. And I wanted to make sure when we came out of it that we were in a really strong position. And it was a bit scary saying yes and signing the dotted line. But now that we're through it and we've got a good platform, I don't think too many building companies were rebranding through the middle of that period. So that was just an extra layer of challenge that we put on ourselves. But I think it's worked out well. Why we did it, just wanted to reflect more of what we do. I think sometimes I'd meet people and they go, "Oh, you're from Melbourne, you build hundreds of homes a year and you're owned by a Japanese company or something." And it just got to me after a while. And I deliberately started out not to put my name on the brand or the family name or anything. But I think it sort of bit us in the arse. Bit us in the arse. Sort of as we got a little bit on, I think the marketing was quite strong and a bit corporate-y maybe potentially. And we didn't communicate that we're obviously local, family-owned and operated business, and not building hundreds of homes. Just around between sort of 18 to 24 homes. It's I think a new branding sort of reflects. It's a bit warmer.
Yeah, I think, you touched on a good point that our branding was very disjointed. We're kind of all over the place. I think it came from a really solid beginning and base, but then we added to it over time without there necessarily being a consistent strategy holding all that together. It was just one good idea laid on top of another good idea, and individually they were good ideas, but then collectively they weren't really gelling together sort of thing. So that was an issue. And I know Kieran touched on earlier off camera that you paid $55 for the original logo, which actually I think that's a bit of a rip-off because I think Nike spent $50 on theirs. So I think they got a bargain out of that. Are there any brands going into the rebranding exercise that are your favourite brands and that inspired you? I know Lee and I, we managed to get to Chadstone Shopping Centre earlier this year to check out some of their branding and to go into the different stores, and because they've got a lot of bougie and luxury stores, and a couple of my favourites, which aren't my favourite actual brands, they were just my favourite stores because of how they went about that, and it was Tommy Hilfiger and Culture Kings. And it's because when you went into their stores, their brand was so alive and it was so unique and it was so strong that you knew exactly where you were. And conversely, I probably didn't really like the branding experience in the stores of Gucci and Louis Vuitton, because when you went in there, they were clearly high-end luxury brands, and they were both expressing that strongly, which you would expect. However, if you took a handbag or a coat or whatever out of Louis Vuitton and put it in Gucci, it wouldn't make any difference. Like, both the stores were saying luxury, but they're kind of doing it in a very similar way. Whereas with your Ralph Lauren,
Lauren, I was going to correct you.
It was Ralph Lauren. But with Ralph Lauren and Culture Kings, it would look wrong for anyone else's products to be in their store because they're so unique and so strong. And I think that's what we were really trying to do with Enso Homes. Prior to our current rebranding, that includes a whole range of things: colour palettes, typography, a vision, and a whole bunch of language around it. We were running with the black and white look, like Kieran had said previously. I think it was off camera as well. We did originally have a bit of a teal colour, and each time you used it with a different brand, it turned into a different version of teal, so there wasn't that consistency. So then we dropped that and just went to black and white just to keep it super simple. But then there's so many black and white businesses out there and even builders out there that there was no differentiation with us just being black and white. So even though colour palette is only a small part of rebranding exercise, I thought that was important. But are there any brands that stand out to you, Kieran, that are like your favourite brands, and why is that?
There is one that is very distinct for me, and coming from woodworking carpentry, that's Festal. So there's a specific, if you know anything about tools, Festal, it is a very specific brand that how they do things is very systematic, and you pay a premium for it, but you know exactly what you're getting. So, like I was mentioning it to you earlier today, simply the functionality of a piece of equipment, anything that is green on the machine does something. So it adjusts the depth, or it changes the blade. Like, just how they go about it is very systematic, and you know exactly what you're getting when you get it. So when it comes to a quality brand, yes, there's a circular saw that you could pay $99 for or $2,000 for. But if you're in the industry and you're doing it day in, day out, it's worth the investment. So it's one of those brands that sort of sticks in with me when I think of a quality brand. And it's not what you're getting, it's the small extra things. So I was like, yes, a circular saw is a circular saw. Both of them cut timber. There's no two ways about that. But how you get there, the experience, the aftermarket service, the whole package of purchasing through Festal is very different to just getting a standard circular saw. So, but you pay a premium for it, but you get a premium result with all those little bit extra. So.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you thinking on branding?
Branding. Obviously the main ones are Nike and Apple. Nike don't really advertise their shoes. It's more the lifestyle that they offer. I really enjoy and using Aesop. I think that's how you say it, but they probably do it in the strongest way. It's almost like a cult there. Making stuff, you utilise certain cutlery and whatnot. Some the brands I follow, strong. I enjoy Toyota as well. Their recent ad, "Don't take a ute to a Hilux job," is just so good. And even Amy Insurance is another one I enjoy as well, because there's a lot of insurance companies. They are on the higher end, and somehow they communicate that they offer a little bit more customer experience, even though they are a bit more. But for the people that appreciate that, don't have any issue parting way, and they do their ads in clever ways.
Yeah, they
that
brand.
Take the piss. Yeah,
they brand the package, not just the product, which is the difference.
Yeah.
So I think I was thinking about this before, and the three kind of brand areas that I like the most are sports brands, because they generally relate to winning and victory and success, and I like winning. So
yes, you do.
Yeah,
I never, haven't experienced that.
Wouldn't have guessed. So.
At whatever it might be,
anything,
and kind of that high performance culture as well. Like, if you look at professional sporting clubs, just what they do culturally, I find really inspiring. The next one was any kind of like coastal and beach brand, because I really love the beach and that kind of lifestyle. So anything around that kind of speaks to me, whether it could be Rip Curl doing the actual clothing, or it could be Corona with their beer ads, where it's like from where you'd rather be, and they're by the beach sipping a beer and it looks great. Or and the third category that I think I like is, I could say luxury, but it's more so just great design. Like any brand that really values putting that extra effort into making sure that their design is just really nice, because I like design as well as kind of aspirational products sort of thing. So I really like that. And that kind of flows on to the value that branding can add. So I came across this video on Instagram yesterday, and it was saying the price that Dior pay to manufacture one of their handbags versus what they sell it for. And I'm sure they sell a whole bunch of different priced bags, but this one specifically was they manufacture it for 57 USD and they sell it for 2,500 USD, which was like crazy. Like, I think it's a multiple of around 50 times sort of thing, which is just ridiculous profit margins. Builders definitely can't take those kind of profits.
I was just about to say, let's change our profit margin.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anyone would be able to afford to build a house if that was the case. Yeah. But clearly branding does add value. And what value do you think it's added to our company, Lee, and how does it differentiate what you're getting with us compared to, say, a volume builder? Say, take ABC Homes. So they're targeted at first home buyers, pretty much at the most affordable price point possible, and they serve their place in the market and they do a great job of it. But how do you think our branding creates differentiation between what they do and what we do?
Well, yeah, I can't comment too much on what they do, but just from our point of view, it's just when we went through the exercise, we got interviewed by the branding agency, individually, all staff members, even myself and Holly individually. And at the end of it, when we had a discussion with the company, it was really clear to them that we enjoy what we do, we're passionate, we want to be around for a long time, and what we do, we want it to have an impact, whether it's building a home, having a conversation, or supporting the community. We want it to mean something and last a long time, and not just meet the standards. We want to make sure that it's here for generations, and that's where we landed with our tagline, Build Your Legacy, which is a little bit different, but it's something that I'm really happy with. I was so nervous having an outcome with that investment and not being really in love with what they came up with, or we came up with collectively. But I think that's what it's about. It's longevity. We're obviously all young. We're going to be working for a long time, and we've got to stand by that for the rest of our lives in a local community. It's we make sure that we get as little phone calls as possible in the decades to come. That's basically potentially the difference. I'm not sure. Can't comment on other builders.
No, I think that's a really good point. How do you think our rebranding has separated us from some of the rest of the industry, Kieran?
I think the big thing with the whole branding and the Build Your Legacy is it's not just focused on the homes we build. It's focused on the business Lee and Holly have built, like the team, and building longevity within the home, the team, the staff we have, not having high turnover of staff, having the right people in the right positions, and then the community. Like we sponsor a lot of sporting clubs and do all of that because Enso Homes want to be a big known brand in the Geelong community for years to come, not just we've done a few houses here, now we're going to jump ship and start building in Ballarat or start building in Bendigo or wherever the market moves to. It wants to be a business that is a key player for years to come. And Lee's 36?
Be careful.
8 now.
38. So there's 20, 30 years of career left there of building homes, and that's so we're wanting to be a key player for that length of time, if not longer.
Absolutely. What I liked about the Build Your Legacy tagline as well is that it brings everyone that we work with on for the journey. It relates to our staff members, our trades, our suppliers, our clients, and our local community, like you were saying as well. So with our own internal staff, people are looking to build a legacy for their family. They want to have a job that's rewarding and that they go home happy from, and that they're able to generate a good income to look after their family and set their family up for the rest of their lives. That our clients are looking to build a home that they can stay in long term, if not forever, as their dream home. And then one day it will either get passed on to their kids or it might get sold, but hopefully be great value for money so they can use the equity for that to then further their lives as well. With our trades, we're wanting to take them on for the ride. We don't just want to be transactional. We want to form strong long-term relationships and support our trades, give them consistent work so they can take care of their families in the same way that we aim to take care of ours. That flows on to our suppliers as well, because we work with, it could be 50 plus suppliers. If you look at all the different materials and stuff that we use, it's probably a lot more than that if you really break it down. So we're supporting them. And then with the local sporting clubs, it's supporting those clubs through sponsorship and stuff, but also endeavouring to be a more permanent part of their environment rather than just paying for a sign on the boundary and that's it. We really want to get involved and have more of a lasting impact at the clubs, and we're looking at ways of what we can do that sort of thing. But I think one of the reasons why we did go on this rebranding exercise as well was to address what the current context of being a builder means, which is a lot of trust has been eroded particularly since COVID, there's been a few dodgy builders around and a lot of builders going under. So people don't necessarily have a lot of trust and faith in builders being able to deliver. And then you've got the Australian landscape that the Australian dream is somewhat slipping away because of the cost of living and how expensive it is to build and own a home. And that's becoming less of a reality for more and more people. And looking at our spot within that context and how we can address those things and hopefully, help people achieve their legacies through that. So what were some of those other activities that we completed, Lee, as part of the overall branding exercise to help re-communicate who we are and what we're trying to do?
It was a series of, I hate the term, but it was workshops. We did it over a number of days, and we had questionnaires, thought-provoking, understanding the sacrifices that our clients have done to be able to inquire with Enso Homes, and then really speaking to that and respecting that. It obviously takes a lot to save up for a home in the first place, and then having someone trust you, with their sacrifices and whatnot. So we had to make sure that we all understood that, and then bring it all together. And obviously we've got to act it out as well. Other than that, I can't really remember too much. It was a while ago now, but it was a really rewarding process to go through. It was made me laugh with how the hell did we get to where we were in the first place, and somehow we sort of kept it together. And one thing I really had a lot of respect for the company that we did use is I was really scared what they were going to do with the logo. But yeah, they reviewed it. Obviously, they, did what they did, and they actually made the call not to change it. So that was a bit of a relief. Although I was a little bit excited with what they might come up with, and I was open to the idea of them changing it. But that was cool to know that somehow we got it right all those years ago. But yeah, I can't really remember what else we did other than workshops and interviews, and I think getting all the staff involved, I thought that was really, really good in one-on-one interviews, and to hear some of what was said and not said, it was like really good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool we got the opinion of everyone in the business, and we have certain people that probably work in more of the management / leadership roles as well as marketing and sales roles. So they have a bit more to do with branding on a more regular basis. But then to get the opinion of someone who might be a drafts person or an estimator, where they usually don't chip into these things, it's interesting to hear just how much they care about the company that they work for and how they see and envision the company and where it is at the moment and where it could go and the possibilities and how they think the best approach to achieving that was. So yeah, I found it really valuable getting that feedback. Did you get much out of that kind of process? Because I know you weren't in necessarily every workshop.
I found the thing from my perspective that was really cool was getting everyone's thoughts about the brand and even just their understanding of what a brand is. Because to someone that works in marketing or works in sales, brand is very different to someone that's a drafty, or even to myself. There's things that I don't consider as part of the brand that I go, okay, yeah, that is part of the brand. It's a whole package. The brand is a whole package of Enso Homes. So just getting all of that information and putting it on paper and getting everyone's different perspectives and understandings of what the brand is, and going, because there were things that certain people said and it's like, oh, I've never considered that or thought of that, where if we didn't go down that process of interviewing and having others involved. And the reality is you don't think of going to the drafty or the estimator for branding input and going, but they're the people that are being sold to and seeing the brand and all of that sort of thing, where marketing see it from their lens, where they're just an everyday person seeing it from that side of the fence, where I found that really insightful. So, which was really good, where if we didn't go through that process, we wouldn't have got that insight and that perspective. So it made a big difference from my perspective.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Do you remember any challenges that we went through when we were doing the process?
Oh, just stressing out about the risk at the time that it was, the investment. The timing was it was towards the back end of last year, wasn't it? So, and then thinking about how much it would cost to change all the signage, and we just got the new signage up on the front of our office on Latrobe Terrace there, which looks really good. Obviously, the uniform rollout. We're going to do the cars and just even like letterheads and fonts and Sam mentioned it before, tone of voice. We're really working hard with the staff to make sure that we have a consistent message, really respect who we're talking to and understanding, where they're coming from and how we can best serve them. But challenging. No, it was good. It's just pretty much the investment really, but yeah, obviously it's paid off.
Yeah. I remember a challenge, well, from my perspective, was that going back to being that slightly disjointed brand that we were, over the years, I think you started off with a really clear picture in mind of what you wanted the brand to be. And then at times, because of internal and external factors, we deviated from that. And we're almost kind of just blowing in the wind and kind of getting taken wherever we might go. We went to a brand we started doing higher volume at one point and a lower price point. And then we found we're kind of competing against your volume builders, which wasn't the right space for us economically, client fit, all those kind of things. So then we had to bring it back to that original vision and make sure that we could all get on the same page with exactly what we were wanting this building company to be and who we were wanting to target, and even coming down to doing things like our revenue and our quantity of builds per year and things like that, because the brand had to reflect that and clearly communicate that. And if we weren't clear on that, which we weren't super clear on, we needed to improve and make that tighter, then how can you say how you want that to look when you're not even 100% sure what that is, sort of thing. So we probably had to take a step backwards for a bit, because we were getting asked questions by the branding team, this and that. And we're like, we're not all on the same page with the answer to that question. So we actually had to get together and discuss and make sure that we're, watertight on exactly what we were wanting to be before we could then go ahead and communicate that. And I'm sure there'd have to be a lot of other businesses out there as well. I think a lot of businesses fall into the trap sometimes of trying to please as many people as possible and trying to be a company to service the entire market, when sometimes you really need to just hone in on your niche, know what that is, and dominate that. So for me, it was just getting on the right page and the same page as everyone was.
That's certainly been the most refreshing thing, is just every day waking up knowing exactly what the purpose is. And then every decision we need to make together, it's our meetings are much shorter now. Just having that, I don't know, overarching goal and purpose, it just answers a lot of questions on its own without even them having to be asked. So, and even from the staff as well, they know, what they need to do, because we've spoken about it and it's set out.
It also helps us attract new staff and also go, okay, this is what Enso Homes is about.
Yeah.
Does that fit for you before we even get that far? Yeah. We've had staff in the past where we've interviewed and we sort of know what we're looking for, but now we go, okay, does that person fit our brand? Does our brand fit that person? We can have that conversation straight up, and it's helped us acquire some really good quality talent over the past couple of months.
Trades and some contractors as well.
Correct.
I think they get a little bit of stability just knowing that we know, I guess. And they, it's business. It's about knowing and trust and whatnot. They're the easiest business to do business with. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great, that filter that we're able to apply to analyse whether some entity or individual is the right fit. Because I remember not too long after doing the branding exercise, we had a potential trade come in with face tattoos. And I think, not to judge a book by its cover, but I think there are also a number of other things behind their business model where they just didn't seem like they had everything sorted and together. It seemed very fast and loose. and not professional. And I think part of our new branding is aiming to be more professional, including who we are and who we work with. So it made that process a lot easier. Whereas I think in the past, we tend to just give people, the benefit of the doubt. We're quite trusting and optimistic, but sometimes that can burn you, and it helps to be able to make those decisions on a non-emotional level where you can just apply a filter that's effectively theoretical, and that way emotions aren't getting involved and you're not umming and ahhing and trying to convince yourself or having this internal struggle or whatever. You just apply the filter and straight away you know whether it's the right fit or not, and it saves a hell of a lot of time and stress, and it delivers a lot better results.
I could not agree more. And like what people don't consider, or I personally didn't consider at the time until we sort of went through the branding exercise, is to a customer, everyone that we deal with is Enso Homes. It doesn't matter if they're a contractor of a contractor of a contractor. Everyone is Enso Homes. So being able to apply that filter, just go, hey, you're representing this brand, whether you're an employee or part of Enso Homes, is irrelevant. This brand has to apply to you, whether you're a labourer or an apprentice. You have to reflect that brand, and it made it so much easier when we go through, and even day-to-day stuff when project managers are on site with trades. Like, hold on a second, what you're doing is not reflecting our brand. You're across that brand. You know what that's about. You need to uphold that standard is fantastic, where we can actually refer back to it. And like now with internal staff, every staff member goes through the brand guide on their first day. They're ran through and it's like, okay, cool. So if in 3 months' time that person's not reflecting the brand, we can say, hold on a second, we brought you on board. You have an understanding of that, the brand and what we're trying to achieve. This is where we need improvement or change or a different approach. And it just makes everything so much easier based around knowing exactly what we're wanting to achieve, where we're wanting to get to, and how we're wanting to get there, sort of thing. So,
and then we're not wasting anybody's time either, because there's nothing worse than, say, somebody comes on board, whether they're a staff member, trade supplier, whoever, and we're not aligned with what we're trying to achieve, and then you're kind of having this battle against each other when neither party's in the wrong. You just didn't really get the right fit originally, so it was never going to work, and then you've just ended up wasting both parties' times, and it can just make it complicated and difficult, sort of thing. So just making sure that everyone's super clear that we're on the same page from the beginning makes life a lot easier for everyone, I think.
It allows us to focus on what we're good at and what we want to be doing, which is building homes and providing customer service. So it just takes out that tedious part of the building game.
And Lee, to wrap things up, where do you see the brand evolving in the next 12 months? How do you think we'll further implement it and make it have a stronger presence, I suppose?
I'd really like to, consolidate from where we are. We've obviously just sort of rolled it out, and we're on the journey probably about 12 months into it now. So it's time to implement it, and these, we're talking about really meaningful outcomes here. So it takes a long time to achieve those goals and what the purpose. So it's basically just doubling down on really making sure we execute on what we're about, communicating it, and making sure that we have the alignment with our trades and suppliers and clients and whatnot. Basically, growth for us that's something that's come really clear out of this. Growth for us is getting better at what we do. I know that's a cliche, but it's not doing more houses or more revenue. We're really set on building, minimal amount of homes we can for our overhead, and then doing it really, really well. That's what growth for us is, and that's what came out of this exercise. So when we say brand, it's a branding exercise. There's a lot more in behind that, but it's really just having clarity on what we're doing. So, it's not about building more. It's about doing it better and servicing the existing customers properly.
Yeah. Well, they say revenues for vanity and profits for sanity. And I know when we go to a lot of these building days, builders are awarded for building the most homes
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it's a bit of a swinging contest that people like to compare the numbers on. But yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. We just really want to get better and deliver an overall better product and experience for our clients, which I'm sure everyone will win from. So thanks to Kieran and Lee for joining us on this episode of the podcast, and thanks guys for listening.
Thanks, Sam.
Cheers.
Thanks, Kieran.